Good morning, Giants. Wake up with Giants TV, where we believe that everyone has the potential to be a giant in their own world. Oh my gosh, buckle up because today you're going to learn how to live an impeccable life. This is a journey to wholeness. We're going to wake up the sleeping giant. Here it comes. Rah! Morning, Giants. Welcome to Wake Up with Giants TV. I'm Ryan Morris, the co-creator of Wake Up with Giants TV, a tribe of giants and the 12 journeys. And I'm here with Nicholas Townsend Smith, the author of The Giants and the Smalls, and the other half to all those other amazing things.
The other half, right?
Yeah, yeah. He's like a all-dressed
Shameless
chip,
plug.
that Nick Smith.
Yeah.
We just learned about all-dressed chips. Apparently, in the U.S., we've been missing out. We thought we were missing out on ketchup chips. Nope, we're also missing out on all dressed chips. So I've never seen them, and now I got to go to Canada today. So
Booking a flight.
booking a flight right now, headed to Canada to get some chips. Oh my gosh, what an amazing episode we have lined up for you! But before we do, we are right in the middle of actually teaching two SG groups. If you want to know more about our Sum Gigante 12-week program, go to giantsandsmalls.com.
Actually, we're gonna change it up. Down at the
Oh,
bottom. Yeah, go to 12journeyscoaching.com.
okay, that'll be easier.
Well, we're building out the website, so ignore the pluribus unum thing.
All the different language that
Lorem
doesn't make
ipsum,
any sense.
yeah.
Yeah, we'll
Lorem
find it.
ipsum
We'll figure it
pluribus
out.
unum. Yeah.
Yeah, we're like Gary Mahler here. We just kind of just roll with the punches day to day, minute to minute sometimes. But it usually works out for the best. So here we go. Yeah, so there's that. Um, we've got our SG facilitator graduating at some point soon. That's going to be exciting. So watch for news on that one. What else do we have, Nick? That I'm
You can see our events on Giant Events on giantsandsmalls.com. We have the Tribe of Giants. If you haven't joined that yet, you definitely want to be a part of the tribe. Our goal is to serve you deeply in that community. We've got Wake Up with Giants TV. You should be subscribed way over there. Hit that subscribe button.
Hit the alert button on there so you know when we go live every single dang time.
It's weird, right, Gary? You don't know which side to point to. So
he's got it.
Go to YouTube and subscribe because we have a great podcast. We have our blog. I mean, we're just trying to flood you with so much giant information that you can't help but be a giant. So
lucky.
Yeah. That's our goal.
No, there you go. I think we're doing it. So that's amazing. Alina thinks we are too. So that's amazing. Well, look, we got Hugh on, so we're ready to go. Now we can start. Let's do this. We got Hugh from Washington.
Let's do
Nick,
it.
will you introduce our guest?
I'd love to. So today we're thrilled to have a guest who embodies the spirit of adventure, integrity, and passion. And we're excited to celebrate his show. It's Gary Mahler. He's the founder of Mahler International Coaching. He's currently on a 20-month life-changing journey along with his wife. Is this right, Kanako? Did I say that right?
Kanako, you said it right.
And their children. So how many kids do you have, Gary?
I got 2. I got a boy that's 10 and a daughter that's going to be 8 next month.
Awesome. And you guys are immersing yourself in the heritage and culture of Tokyo, Japan, right?
It's 100% right.
Awesome. So as they're exploring their roots through the Japanese school system, Gary's not just running his coaching business from, is it Shibuya?
Shibuya.
Yeah, man, I'm getting these words right.
You're going 100%.
Here we go. Like we should have like a ticker. Yeah. But he's also
hear him with English.
Home. Yeah. He's building a new home and coaching studio in Vancouver, Canada, and his mission to create leaders who live a life of integrity, adventure, and passion. Gary's a mentor to business owners and entrepreneurs who seek impeccability and wholeness in their lives. He's committed to living fully alive and sharing his unique mentorship approach with those who are tired of striving for an elusive, quote unquote, perfect life. So instead, he guides them towards a life of ease, flow, and extraordinary results. So without further ado, let's dive into this exciting conversation with Gary Mahler. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me, guys. It's so fantastic that I could be with you from the Andes in Scottsdale, one of my favorite spots on the planet.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful morning. It's not too hot yet. It's great to be with you.
I think the sun is a little bit cooler than Scottsdale, but great to have you from almost the sun. It's so hot there.
Almost. Oh my God. It's crazy hot.
Yeah.
It's on fire.
We were talking a little bit before the show, and you have this way of being where you really just let life flow. And maybe we'll start from that point. Generally, what we try and do here is look at your journey of becoming who you are today. And now, have you always been a person that does that? Have you been the guy that just flows with life, or was there some other version of you at some point?
When I was young, I pretty much flowed with life. I just, as life came, I really just enjoyed life. When I hit, man, I would even say during my university years, I would just do my work and enjoy life. I just really enjoyed whatever projects I was doing. I moved to Paris when I graduated from a 5-year business degree. For 2 years, I just enjoyed life. I just went with the flow. It was heaven. Heaven. I moved back to Vancouver after that 2-year hiatus to implement a thesis for my family business. We were a manufacturing company, a machine shop. And for, I would say, 12 years of my life, I was not this guy in flow. I was completely driven to production, promising things, ensuring my promises were kept. Really nice when things went well. And you know how often things go well. So other than that, I was
only always, I heard, right? Like
only always.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. 100% with ulcers too.
Yeah. 60% of the time it works every time.
Man, during that period of my life where we grew from a 4-person to 50-person machining facility implementing that thesis, all I thought about was work. All I thought about was my commitments, me, in terms of what I'm promising so that I would look good to people. And around year 2000, I was on a business trip in Japan, and I went to a place in Nara, Japan, and it's the largest wooden structure in the world called Todaiji. And I knew and I heard there was some Buddha in there, but I wasn't into Buddhas, but I just wanted to see it as a tourist destination. And as soon as I walked into that building, I saw this Buddha, and I was like, man, I want that. I want peace. I want calm. And that happened around this time in year 2000. And my journey since then has been one step at a time, one choice at a time, finding peace. And I am peace.
Yeah. So, this idea of impeccability. So the topic of this show, do you have a definition that you use when it comes to that? Impeccable?
Impeccable to me is keep your word. Honor your word. Pardon me. There's a difference. There's a distinction. If I honor my word, pretty much what I say is count onable. And if there's any time that it's not, sometimes as human beings, we can't always keep our word. But what I want to do is honor what I said. And if there's something where there is lacking, I want to own up that there was something occurring in my world that wouldn't have me keep my word. How can I make it up to you? So to me, it's all about word. I'm teaching that to my son. I'm teaching that to my daughter. When you can say something and someone can count on what you say, more importantly, if you can count on what you say, life is easy. Life is easy.
Isn't that amazing? So that word ownership, that honoring, right, means ownership. and it's owning what you've spoken. So not only what's going on within you, but what you've spoken into the world. And I love the distinction between keeping your word and honoring your word. Honoring is owning it, right? And keeping it is following through on that ownership. Is that accurate?
That's accurate. And I think the thing, as human beings, I don't know that we can always keep our word. There could be something coming up, and that would be something then that will create dissension within us or with someone else. So I think the spirit of impeccability is pretty much, if I'm going to commit to something, I'm going to do everything in my power for that to happen. And I also realize sometimes that might not happen. What am I prepared to do to make it right?
Okay. I want to hit on a word called declaration, and it's an
Yeah,
assertion of a commitment. And then you talk about impeccability along with that assertion of that commitment, that declaration. I'm going to have you play with some things with me for a minute. I want to talk
let's
about
go.
prediction, right? Prediction,
Yeah,
how
Gary's like,
we,
sure, I
you,
got
you
this.
know, that just the topic of you coming into the studio this morning and talking about, not really knowing how it's going to go, having a few points that you'd like to hit throughout the day, knowing it's going to turn out fine and that you can handle it, right? So really leaning into the world of uncertainty and the unknown. So I want to play with some words here, the prediction, where we try and speak before we speak it, what's going to happen next, and then we speak it, and then we go into our declaration. That's our declaration, our assertion that we're going to do that, and then commitment. So can you see the flow there a little bit, that play it
sure.
out, predict it, speak it, declare it,
Yeah,
commit to it?
yeah,
Yeah. What do you hear in
beautiful.
that? Like, what would you share with people around that?
Well, I can't really control what's going to happen. The only thing that I can prepare myself is, who am I as a declaration?
Mm,
I can't control any other part of it. There's nothing else I can do. If I prepare in my declaration who I am infinite stillness, born of ease and flow. I'm pure connection to the all powerful.
mm.
We create what I want, and I always get what I desire. I'm generous and warm hearted. I am love coming from love. I'm forgiveness and understanding. That's a declaration. That's who I am. That's who I am all of the time. So within this, I create that when I wake up so that when I come here, that's who I am.
Okay. So
So that
declaration
declaration, yeah,
isn't about things or our environment or our world. It's a declaration of who we're committed to be in the world.
that's
Which
all I
then
got control over.
creates how you view the world too, because you may have fear or judgments or all these things, different things come up, but I'm imagining you're quite a bit like Steve Hardison because you've been trained in that dojo too, where if those things come up, well, what does Gary Mahler do? He runs his document back through his mind. He catches it, runs that document right back through his mind, and shifts his reality so that he's not wandering off path, at least not very far
100%.
before it comes in, right?
Always aware of the situation within what is occurring. Who am I?
Mm,
Always coming into that. No matter what happens inside of me or outside of me, I remain unmoved and worry free. Nothing moves me or shakes me, even when I'm shaken and stirred. So you see within that, I declare that nothing moves me, but I know sometimes I'll be shaken and stirred. But that won't move me either, because I'm human.
mm.
Coming from love, I forgive myself for judging myself. I just come back. So within this, I've got loops of something will happen outside of me that will kind of shake me, but I just come back to, who am I? Who am I? Who am I?
Okay.
And I live my life over and over and over and over with compassion. And that creates freedom. That creates freedom in the unknown. I don't know what'll happen. I know that at 9:45, I've got a brunch with someone that I met. Before I leave here, we're going to have brunch. I know that that will happen.
Yeah.
After that, I've got a flight to LA. Then I'm going to be at the Thompson in Hollywood. I know, I mean, I can't know that, but pretty much those are the points that I'm going to hit today. but I'm
Yeah.
not too particular how any of that works between there. I'm going to experience life all that I have and everything going on. You know, you dude said be here 10 minutes before. So I'm going to be here 10 minutes before. We're going to talk about ketchup chips and, you know, brushing teeth
All dressed
slowly
chips.
and whatever, all dressed chips.
Yeah.
But pretty much that's what I'm going to prepare for.
Hmm.
And what happens, I don't know what'll happen in this call, but my whole life is like this. It's an adventure.
I had a dream and vision once of a captain of a ship, and as controls, he had piano keys, right? And as he would strike the hammer of the piano key, it would reach into the unknown and create a fracture in that unknown. And there was a wake behind him of everything that was created from those keys, right? Whatever he would want to hit, that would play out in front of him, and he would go down that path accordingly, right? And you know, Steve Hardison talks about it in his tow truck driver distinction. When he was coming back from California, he calls me up and he says, I'm going to create a miracle. I said, okay, cool, man. I can't wait to hear it. He hangs up, he calls back, he gets a flat tire. He said, I told you I was going to create something amazing. And involves me in this deal of the best experience of his life, right? At that moment, with what is, using what is as leverage to create into the unknown. And you know, this where most people would say this is ruining my life, this is destroying me, they would identify with it, they would make meaning of it. It sounds like you, similar to what Steve Hardison does, really just go with the points you'd like to hit. But if you didn't hit those points, you'd still be okay. You'd still create with what you have because you're the captain of the ship hitting the keys. Is that?
That's right. I'll hit the points that show up.
Yeah. Huh. Okay, now I want to dive in for those that don't do that. Okay, because when we do our 12 journeys, like people do that and they're so frustrated with how it turns out, right? They have this ideal and this expectation of how things should go, right? And when it doesn't, this is you know, we talk about this so frequently. Lisa Feldman Barrett says we feel depression when we don't live up to our own ideals, and we feel anxiety when we don't live up to the ideals we think others have for us. And so people set all these expectations and they don't hit them. And then they spiral down into how bad they are because of what they didn't do, which they made up anyway. How would you guide them through that so that they can get realigned with what you talked about?
Yeah, I am love, and coming from love, I am forgiveness and understanding, especially with myself.
Yeah.
I got no real big ideals about who I am or what it is that I'm doing. I've got stuff that seems very fun that I'd want to do.
Hmm.
My whole trip to Tokyo last January, I didn't know how I was going to get there. The country was shut down. You needed some kind of visa to get in. No one was allowed into the country until, you know, tail end of last year. And even then, not many people were coming in. I didn't know where I was going to live. I didn't know so many things. I had a home to sell in Vancouver. I had all of these things. And all my wife and I did was, I think I'd like to put our home on the market in May. It sold within 4 days, but all of the work I did to prepare it to sell, I did so much work. It was pristine. And everything happened. I hired a realtor who I know for a long time, that I just trust, that just knew how to put this thing and showcase it, and boom, boom.
Hmm.
And then from there, man, I remember landing in Tokyo with my wife. My kids were at their grandparents' house. And where are we going to live? But we had an idea that we'd like to live in the area we're currently living. So all we did was we looked for places in that area, and we just kept on looking, and then we found the perfect spot. So I don't know, I don't have a specific. And if you would take a look at this house, it was built in the 80s. I don't think they've done a reno. It's not really nice like this, but I tell you, we made it home. It's got beautiful old school tatami room. It's big. It's bigger than anything else you could find. I got a front door. The kids can knock on the door. Hey, your kids come out to play?
You've got a front door on your house?
We got a front door in our house.
That's amazing.
In my condo, in
Yeah.
my condo, I had a front door too. But in order to get to that front door, you needed to press some buzzer or have a fob, and you need to do all this kind of stuff. So
Mm.
living in a condo in Vancouver, my kids could not go out unless I took them down and brought them everywhere. It's
Wow.
not
Wow.
safe.
Okay. Yeah.
Where we
Wow. See,
live
that's
now, where
amazing.
we live,
Yeah.
you see, where we live now, they go to school by themselves. They go on the train by themselves. 4 minutes, they go to a temple, like in the middle of the city, a temple with beautiful, it's like so cool. It's got a forest in the middle of Shibuya. And they can just do this. So when I say a front door, they can come and go as they want.
Mm.
And I couldn't have planned that better. You know, if I would have thought, maybe, of course, I like apartment life. That's what we're going to get.
Mm.
I got like, so I don't put some ideas of how it has to be or how I have to be, but I'm always playing with the unknown.
Mm. But I've got to know, like, do you ever have down moments? Do you ever
Of
feel
course, of
defeated? Do you ever
course,
feel
of
frustrated?
course, of course. So if I get into comparison,
Yeah.
man, that's gonna put me down a rabbit hole. If I
Yeah.
take a look at some things and I'm down on myself for my weight or for this or for whatever it is, but that's if I don't create myself. If I create myself, I come back to coming from love. So I create within me that love. I am freedom. I am free to be loved and loving no matter what. That includes myself and anyone I'm meeting. And if I'm not, I know I'm lesser or I feel lesser. So I just really am very aware of what's going on. And to
Mm.
me, love is a very high energy. It's the highest energy. Judgment, hatred, all of these things, annoyance, that's really down on the ladder of consciousness, as Steve Chandler calls it. And I just don't want to live there. And sometimes I find myself there if I'm not careful. And I'm like, that's not a problem. I'm a human being.
Yeah.
So I just say, oh, I'm here. This is something. What am I going to do with it? So what? Okay.
I think that's what we've learned the most from these shows. We've done over 160 interviews like this. And it's weekly coaching for us. It's weekly coaching where we get to sit with people like you and just really be blessed with your way of being and learn from you how you navigate that, because we all have some version of that. Even our 12 Journeys program is designed around things we've learned from these shows. And that recreating yourself, and when you don't, it's okay, just realign and do it. There's no
Really?
having to go back and backtrack and clean up necessarily. There's just pick up from where you are, right?
That's right. And that's all I do. I
Huh.
realize I'm a human being, and there's going to be times I'm tired. There's going to be times I'm upset. There's going to be thoughts that probably I'm not too proud of, but they show up. The more I don't interact with them and I let them be there, the less that they have power over me.
Hmm. I love Jen Walter has the best little phrases, the how hole, comparanoia. Like, these are phrases that are just powerful. But beyond that, I don't, Mr. Rogers, right? Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. I don't mean to compare you here, but you've got this sense of calmness that he had. That man he would explain life and be in life, and he was doing his thing and just living in his own way. And you really have this energy about you, like a Mr. Rogers would. Just really just, I love life. I love people. When I'm not doing good, I just put my shoes on and put on my favorite cardigan and get back at it. Is that,
That's
is
pretty
that,
much it.
yeah?
It's what I wanted. It's what I wanted when I saw the Buddha.
Hmm.
And I just have taken steps. Every step that I have taken all along the way, I just said, I want peace. So, of course, if I want it,
Hmm.
everything that I'm going to do is another step towards peace. And if there's a choice of not being peaceful, and sometimes I take them, but I'm aware now that that's what I'm taking,
Hmm.
and it's not helpful. But this whole notion of everything in my document, there are loops in there that I declare this. I'm a human being, and sometimes I won't I won't be doing what I say, but it doesn't matter, because if I be what I say, I can be with what's occurring, and I can turn it around. I can turn it around. And I just, when I was in my company, I was always at war with myself for this
Mm.
life. I hated the present moment. I don't got time for it. I've got quality time remaining. I've got the next third of my life. I just want to enjoy my life with what's happening and create with what's happening.
Yeah, that would
And
be
that's all it is.
that'd be a game changer for any business owner, leader, creative, startup, somebody that thinks I'm going to trade and push and grind and wear myself out so that I can create this amazing dream that we've done it. We've done it here. And we wear ourselves out. We feel all the frustrations and we blame and judge ourselves for everything that we've done wrong, right? Quote unquote, as though it's a real thing. And then, that just holds us in this space where we don't have quality time like you're describing. By allowing and knowing that you are powerful regardless of the situation, you are the navigator. And that's one thing that every great explorer has in common, is that they create themselves before they go explore the unknown. That every one of them knows who they are in relation to the environment they haven't stepped into yet. And so when you find yourself, not powerful or disempowered, or you fall back into, things that would create suffering, then it's a chance to really realign with who you declare yourself to be and work toward that and let that do the creating in your world. Does that make sense?
It's beautifully put.
Is that all it is, Gary?
I can't think of anything else.
Well, I think you're our last episode then.
It's like, that's it. That's all there is. It's so simple, yet we make it super complex sometimes, like all the time.
Man, I prefer simple. My whole life is simple. If I can
Jen just wrote
simplify
that.
things, that's what I did in my business. I made things simple. That's what I do here. My life is simple. This is why I don't go on social media much. I don't do a lot of different things.
Yeah.
I want to have the time that I can be present with my kids. So my wake up routine in Tokyo is this. My wife likes them to do their Japanese homework, Kumon, which is math homework, their English homework before they have breakfast. So that's a lot of stuff. The kids are hungry.
Yeah.
That's a good 30, 45 minutes. And that's what she wants. And I'm like, cool. So my job is 3 steps. The first one, I open the blinds and I hug and kiss them. Then I give them 5 minutes. Then I come back and I say, okay, this is step number 2. And I hug and kiss them and I'm there and we're wrestling. By the 3rd time, my son is reading. He loves to read. My daughter's like, just, and at that time, it's like, now it's time to go. Now is go time. I've given you time. So my daughter, I carry her. They go to bathroom, and then my son comes, and I'm just there. All that I got to do is be the calmness so that, like these kids want to eat, they want to have fun, like so that they can do their work. And I understand why my wife wants these things done, because there's a lot to be done.
Yeah.
And in Tokyo, the days are super long. And if they don't do it then, they're not going to do it later. So that's my job. So that's all that I do. I got to be with them.
This place called Tokyo, right? It sounds like it's right next to that place called Heaven.
The land of Tokyo.
I told Steve, I said, this has been the best year of my life. I've really created this year that all it is to fully immerse myself with my son and daughter in their lives in Tokyo. My wife and I get to travel the neighborhoods, like walk to the neighborhoods we love and have coffee or have lunch or just talk about what it is that we want to do. My wife, being in her home country, really wants to study about nutrition, about how the optimal way for us to eat to be healthy. And she's doing this
Huh.
Dudes, like, it's just heaven.
Tell us about being a father.
Being a father is the best thing that I could have ever chosen. And I started late in life, and I really didn't want kids. I really didn't want kids. I
Huh.
didn't want anyone to have the pain that I felt growing up. And then when I left Tokyo back in 2010, my wife said, I want to have kids. I don't know if you do, but I don't want you to stay with me and have kids because I want them. I want you to choose for you to have kids. So I took a summer
Mm.
off to decide if I wanted kids or not. And she made it very clear, don't have them for me, have them for you. And I had to decide for myself. And when I made that choice, that's what had us get married. That's what had me have to really create this business because I needed to do something to support a family. And it
Yeah.
wasn't
Wow.
self-evident what that would be.
Huh.
But being a father to me, it's the greatest thing I've ever had where I've got a connection with my son and my daughter that is, they're a part of me, but they're unique from me. And I get to experience the joys of life from their eyes. I get to enjoy everything they think is amazing, everything they think is not so great.
Hmm.
That's the best thing. It's like my Tuesdays, I go to Japanese class, I get free classes in Shibuya. At 1, I pick up my son and we walk for half an hour to Omotesando, to his school to study Chinese character, like the Chinese characters of the Japanese language. And for half an hour, I get to hold his hand walking through Tokyo. He just tells me about his life. We just laugh about stuff. We laugh about what we see. Then I walk home with him. And then I take my daughter on the train to her English academy. And we're just in crowd. Like sometimes we're in a train like this, and she's just holding on to me. And all these people are like, basically, it's like what you see on TV. We're just laughing. We're laughing at things we see. We're laughing at people looking at us funny. We're just laughing. This is my life. That's a Tuesday. So you can see there's some points. Japanese school, pick up my son, bring him home, take my daughter. Then I sit in Starbucks for 2 hours and I'm just sitting. Maybe I'll listen to a podcast. Maybe I'll sit there just looking at all the Japanese doing what they're doing. That's all I do.
I should probably unmute here. That would be helpful, but it'll go how it goes. There's a metaphor called the egg. Um, I don't know if you've seen that. The premise of that video is that the universe, God, higher source, power, created us so that he could experience more of himself. And in what you just shared, it's like I get to have these extensions, not necessarily of me, they're different from me, but I get to watch them take on their own identity, and then a part of me grows while they grow. This experiential, I see
Yeah.
myself in them, right? And they're a piece of me and I'm a part of them. And it's just amazing. It just took that metaphor. I just posted the link here to another level for me. I'm doing that with my own kids. It's beautiful, just to be able to watch them develop and be like, yes, get it. Huh. Ryan?
Yeah, they're hilarious.
They are hilarious.
Yeah, sometimes you want to beat them to death, but they're hilarious. Freaking
Oh,
love my kids, but
dude,
I
sometimes
had
they're
a question,
such a
Gary.
TIA. Yeah, tell me, ask me.
No, you're you're good. I is something that you said a little bit ago about the present moment, and you said the present moment scared you at one point. Like you couldn't be with the
I
present.
hated it.
Is that
Yeah, I hated it.
how come? What was going on in your world that you hated the present moment, that you couldn't be in the present moment, and then how did you shift that?
Let's say driving, like I had to drive when I'd go to work at 4 in the morning, there was no traffic, but coming home, there always was. I hated that.
Hmm.
I hated bumper to bumper. I hated that. there was parts that I hated. So just anything that didn't suit me, I wasn't really too enamored with. So I would always be wanting something to happen more. I'll be happy when this happens. I'll be happy when I'm home.
Hmm.
I'll be happy then. I won't be happy here. I'll happy when this job is finally done, in terms of manufacturing. I'll be happy. I'll be happy when the situation outside of me suits me, but it just doesn't happen. So that's when I murdered the present moment. I was always wanting it to be something different and be somewhere else. And now I'm really very content with what is. And then in terms of what I want to create, I choose what I'm doing now that furthers whatever I want to create. But I always say in manufacturing, how you build something is how it's going to end up. You build quality into a part that you're building for Boeing. If you're rushing, if you're doing all these things, that part will not be, it won't have integrity. So I was always about, let's take our time. Let's do quality control as we're going. Let's enjoy ourselves as we're creating what we create. And that's my whole premise of my life. So instead of being so focused on something that I think I want, I'll play with what is. My home in Vancouver was supposed to be ready in August. It's going to be August, in a few days. Ready till next year. I could be upset about that, but I'm like, man, take your time. I'm enjoying Tokyo. The longer that it takes, the more that I
lesson,
get to
though,
display.
Yeah.
That right there, like that lesson in everything. It's, and I relate to it because I think I swear I've, like, the last few months I've had like these ulcers or these like pits in my stomach of like the uncertainty, and finding myself really, really leaning on my tools, and just getting back into center or chi or calm, whatever you call it. And it's so simple. It is so freaking simple, yet we complicate the
Not
crap out of
easy.
everything. Yeah, like
Simple but
we
not
do it.
easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Simple
Wow.
but not easy. But the
Wow.
whole thing is, the more that I practice calmness, the more calm I become.
Huh. Well, this is so wrong. At least that's what I was taught, right? That's what I was taught. And it's so simple and not easy, because it does take this, that declaration being an assertion, and that word assert means to speak boldly what you own, right? What you're committed to, which Steve Chandler's version is what you do is what you're committed to. So to assert that commitment of not what you'll do in the world, but who you'll be that will do the doing in the world, right? And a return to that allows you to navigate whatever is to murder the present moment, right? And allow what is to be what is. I have a new view of the tow truck driver distinction that Steve Hardison shares. I have a new view of other events in my life that I've been through where I fully surrendered to the moment, and then I contrast that to times I tried to control everything and how miserable that was. So miserable. It's people in my lives, I'm a serial killer lately. That's funny.
Murdering the crap out of the present.
Yeah. Like having people in your space, having a business partnership with Ryan Morris, to have the time that we've had together to work on this and build this business. I don't know how long that's going to go. I hope it goes forever, but you never know. Forever. Is that Sandlot?
Yeah.
Forever. But Gary, what a way of being so that you can do the doing. The being does the doing. Does the doing create the being?
Man, Does the doing create the being? I mean, the being creates the doing, and the doing then informs the being.
Mm. Which
Well,
creates the
because it's
being,
showing
right?
up. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and if people have this external locus of identity and control, and whatever happens outside of them defines who they are, then the doing defines them, right? The result defines them.
My
But
my
in
res- my results don't define me.
hmm,
I would imagine they don't based on our conversation. But for a lot of people, right? Did it ever? And I already know the answer to that.
It used to. It
Yeah.
used to. And I can't really say it took 23 years to get to this place, and I'm not really anywhere. I'm just the way I am, and I really like it.
hmm,
I created. And I just kept on saying small yeses or large yeses to things that I thought I wanted to do and experience, not to get something, but in doing it, I knew something would be shifting. And maybe I used to think I'll be different. I get the idea that I've been perfect all around. It's my thinking about who I was or my ideas about myself that we needed to just polish to just get back to this godness or goodness.
hmm,
And if I can be okay with my godness and my goodness, then I can be okay with people that I meet,
hmm.
even if it's not something that I like.
You can be okay with it.
I can be okay with not being okay with it. And I can
Yeah,
say, what
there.
do I want?
I
What do I want to create?
I like that. I want to play with there are three things here that I would love you to touch on. Okay. Abundance, and I'll share how I see it, and maybe you can help us with it. Okay. Vision and surrender. So, abundance being that all of the resources, materials, opportunities, and ideas that we could ever need are already placed around us, right? So, it's already there. We just can't see it. Vision, like Einstein says, is imagination is more valuable than knowledge. Vision reaches beyond what is. And so vision, just like you say, is possibly the playground of what can we create with what's all around us. And then surrender is kind of letting go of how it comes about. Now, I'd love to hear the Gary Mahler version of that, of those three things of abundance, vision, and surrender.
What I'll say is it's very hard when you're in the midst of whatever circumstance you're in. If you're in a deep, dark pit, it is very difficult to really believe in abundance.
Mm.
So I just want to put it out there. So if people are really like, what is this thing? Like,
Mm.
this is gobbledygook to people. If you're in there, if you're in,
That's a
a
technical
tar
term.
pit, yeah. If you're in a tar pit, like you're not gonna, this won't make sense to people. Abundance will not make sense to people.
Can we hang
Vision,
here? Yeah, for a
yeah,
second.
let's hang here. I think it's important because people, if you're in it, and sometimes even myself, when I'm in it, no matter what is there, I can't see past. It's like you're in, like trying to punch your way out
Like
of a
in a
paper
cave,
bag
right?
in a cave. And that's okay.
Mm.
So some of the things, I was going to write this book. I had this idea. It's going to be the anti-self-help book because it's all of this stuff. People say this stuff, but then it's like, man, people don't feel it. They can't see it.
Mm.
My work with anybody is to be where they're at and say, I get it. There would be no way that someone will understand abundance if they're down and out on their luck. And what ends up happening, they're going to say, it's easy for you. You got it all.
Right. Right. You're working above the ground here.
And we got to just get into that pit with people.
Yes.
Allow them to be seen and heard.
Hmm.
Allow them to share how they got there. Allow them to share how hard it is for them where they're at.
Jen
How they
Walter calls it FUTU. And I'd love at some point for her to share that. But the basic is when she went through our 12 journeys, we jumped into the hole with her, and she said "F you" in no uncertain terms, right? She said "fuck you," and then later said, thank you. Right. And, and that's the value of jumping in there and being with somebody while they're in that pit. Right.
100%.
I had this memory in my head about a guy that wrote a book called The Giants and the Smalls, and he was in the pit. He was standing in a food line back in 08, 09, and a giant hopped in the pit with him. Steve Hardison. Actually, a friend of Nick's recommended Steve Hardison and got Steve Hardison a call. I don't know how that all transpired, and I'd love to be the fly on the wall in that conversation. But knowing how Steve Hardison works, he said, "Sure, I'm betting it was no problem at all. Sure, I'll jump in the pit with him." And he jumped in the pit, and in the book, The Giants and the Smalls, there it is right there. Hold on, I'll move completely. So there's the small, and there's who was Nick Smith, who was in the pit. And when he comes to the edge of a cliff, he says, "What can you see?" I see dirt and rocks. I see a cave. I see darkness. Not much. We've all been there. Where Gary, you being in the present was torturous. It was the cave. Nick Smith standing in a food line feeling like a failure because he couldn't provide for his family. We've been there. We know what it feels like. It's dark. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't taste good. It doesn't smell good. It doesn't sound good. All around just miserable. And then somebody puts you on their shoulder and stands up and gives you a whole new perspective. Right. Gary Mahler, that's what you do for people. In certain in in very simple ways, you lead
That's
by
all I want to do.
example, but then not just living your life in flow and in simplicity. You hop down into their mess with them and show them you can unclutter it. You can have a different perspective. You put them on your shoulder and stand up, and your view becomes their view. And for once in their life, they have hope. And then that, right, Nick, we talked about this the other day about hope, how powerful hope is. It leads you to believe that there is possibilities. When you're stuck in that hole, you can't see the possibilities, and they're all around you. It clutters your mind because you're just so stuck in the uncertainty. But the uncertainty is where it all is. It's the
It's
possibilities are
always,
there.
it's always
Yes.
uncertain. Truthfully. Man, thank you, Ryan. Holy cow.
Mm.
That, I mean, thank you for pulling that together with what Gary's sharing here, because for those that are watching, you can see yourself in that. I've been in the pit. I still get in the pit.
We still
I'm
jump
like,
down inside the
I
pit every time.
still like, I wonder what it's like to be in the pit, and I'll jump in. I'll be like, hey, I should start my day this way. Yeah, head first, right, Gary?
I'm gonna start doing Gary Mahler like hand signals. He's like, you don't even have to say anything, Gary. It's like,
So Gary, how about vision? You know, when you look at
Well,
vision, what's the purpose of vision?
well, so if you're in the pit, you don't got vision because it's dark. If we lift someone up as a possibility, there's a possibility of vision of something being different.
Mm,
There's a possibility of dreaming. There's a possibility of something that you're not stuck, that you're free.
hmm.
And from there, we can create that vision. And then the next part, most people love certainty, but this creation from surrender, acceptance, and allowance is, man, if we allow for this, for life to happen without us trying to force it, we've got so much energy. not just ours, but something flowing through us. The moment we're trying to put our stamp on something, that ego energy takes a lot of energy. So within my vision, I say this would be fun to do. Living in Tokyo for a year would be fun to do.
Hmm.
And then each step along the way, everything that it takes to live there, like getting my spousal visa, that was a lot of work. My wife needed help. When I did her Canadian permanent residency, I had all of the stuff ready. They needed to have pictures when you're dating, same thing. She goes, "Oh, this is so much work." And I was like, "Oh, I did that for you. Here you go."
Hmm.
And it was fun. And then I got the visa. I just did a visa extension. And it seemed like it would be so hard. So I go on YouTube, find out some stuff. So we do all of the stuff and it's a bit unclear. We get some clarity around it. I go there and it's like the first day we go there, it's like a zoo. It's like 4 p.m. on a Friday, and the dude's like 3 hour wait. Just come back on Wednesday. We came back on the Wednesday and we just go in and they stamp it. Beautiful. Your PR card or your notification will come. The next time we come, I thought same thing. It's going to be so nice. It'll be just like dun 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 dun. Dude, we get there right on time. There's a small lineup, 15 minutes. You have to have all the stuff and you give it to them. And then wait time, 150 minutes. And we're like, dude, like Japan's really good at some stuff, but this is ridiculous. Like what would take 150 minutes if everything's already done? You've had 3 weeks with this thing. And I'm sitting there with my wife and it's not a pretty office. And it's not air conditioned, and it's like 85. It is air conditioned, but like very moderately. It's like 85% humidity. The people are not happy. And I'm just sitting there and I'm like, how am I going to be with this situation?
Yeah. Wow. Huh.
And I'm so glad that my wife's next to me. And then it's like, this is unbelievable, isn't it? This is unbelievable, but it's what we got.
Yeah.
And then we're trying to see how, like, it goes in groups of 6s, dividing by this into 150. There's going to be 10 of these type of things. And just watching people, like, you can just see, dude, and you had the United Nations in there. It wasn't what I wanted. But if it's 150, it'll be 150. How am I going to handle the 150? And some of the time wasn't that fun. Moments weren't fun. Then moments were fun. And then we're laughing at some things that we see. We're just, that's interesting. Oh, that was interesting. And then that was it. Then we went for lunch.
Gary, there's
it's like the most simple story ever. Then that was it. Then we went for lunch. But inside of that little story, like you can unpack that for days. I unpack
I
that
do
for
want
days.
to unpack it.
Oh,
I do want to, because that right there is you have this commitment to being a certain way. And then you have the not ideal. Like, this is not ideal. And then another version of you might show up in that not ideal. And there's an opportunity inside of who you'd like to be and who you're being in the moment. And there's a dissonance, right? There's a disruption. And there's an opportunity to realign with who you'd like to be. But many of us, what we do is we say, well, I'm not being who I could be. I'm being who I'm being in this moment. And I'm justified because it's 85 degrees in here. There's a long wait. So they give themselves all the reasons why it's okay to stay there. And that makes them not have to realign with who they'd like to be. And so we end up.
They suffer.
And then
they suffer.
Yeah.
And they suffer. I don't like suffering.
And it's made up. Suffering is made up. Suffering is made up. Pain is a part of life. Suffering is optional, right?
That waiting in there in this thing that was just not a pretty room. It's not what I like.
The words, this is not ideal. That's what I heard in my head. Even if you didn't say that, that's what I heard. This is not ideal. That's something I started saying. Well, this isn't ideal. It's not what I imagined. And isn't that interesting versus judging it, right? Well, that's interesting. That's curious versus, well,
And you
that
don't even have
sucks.
to judge your judging. You don't
Right.
even have to judge your judging, because
Mm,
I'm a human being. I'm a being that enjoys being a human being. And there's so much paradox in there. I
yeah.
can't be perfect.
Yeah.
So there's so much that if I give, it's like a get out of jail free card, like, and you
Yeah.
get $200. And it's not like I'm just letting myself get off with whatever, but it's like I'm a human being. So what? And then I just come back to love, and then there's freedom. I can be love and loving no matter what. I can be Gary energy that sees the unseeable, shares the unseeable, is
Mm,
able to be with the impossible to be with. I create my life that way. I take empowered action all of the time. And I
mm.
don't got too many fears. And if I do, I just come back to that and I work with it.
Have-
That's why I hired Steve.
yeah.
I just want to be that no matter what.
Have you seen a magnet, the magnetic poles, and how the energy flows out to it and comes back to it and just flows out and comes back? That's what I see with that declaration is it's constantly coming back to that and flowing out from
Yeah,
that, right? And all creation
100%.
comes from you, not you're not going anywhere. Creation is what comes from you. I think Rich Litvin says that. Steve probably said that to Rich at some point. So I'll trace everything back to Steve, right? But that idea that who you're being is expressed in the world, and then you have the results and you feed that back in, even if it's not what you had in mind, right? You feed it back into your being and you keep expressing out. um, just it really comes back to, who are you declaring yourself to be? Who are you creating yourself as when you get up in the morning, when you go out into the world, when you get into a situation like you described?
And there's another part to it, because I can declare anything I want. If I have an undercurrent of judgment against myself, unless I clean that, and I clean it daily, I clean it all the time.
Mm,
Unless I clean that out, I can say anything. Most people have affirmations and they're praying to whatever they pray to. Unless I clean out my self judgment,
mm,
whatever I say is going to be really lacking in power. When I say, I am goodness, you can believe there used to be a part of myself that thought I wasn't that good.
mm,
And unless I clean that out, now I can say, I am goodness, and that means something to me.
mm. It's not the
So this is
band-aid.
the work
Yeah.
well, the work I do with the people that I work with is I let them see where they're in the mud, help them get vision, and then we really eradicate. We just see all the places that they make themselves wrong for being a human being.
Mm,
And we need to have that, like a cancer. You take out the cancer, you need to take out the cancer. And in this self-forgiveness work, I'm constantly just cleaning out these old ideas, and there's still some deeper. A big
mm,
reason why I came to see Steve from Tokyo is there was a bunch over 2 months, like old things coming up that I didn't even know. And I spent 3 months. I was woken up at 1, 2, or 3 in the morning for an hour, and old things that I didn't even realize were there. And that's where I recreated part of my document
mm,
into I am Gary energy that sees the unseeable and shares that and is able to be with the impossible to be with. Because for 3 months I would be up for an hour feeling every sensation, remembering stuff in my childhood or in my teen years where I was disappointed or hard on myself. Then I'd fall asleep for about an hour and I'd wake up and another strip of that would be gone.
mm,
And this is where, if I can be with that, I can be love and loving no matter what to myself, to waking up at 1 a.m.
mm.
But and I don't think you need a coach or a guide to do this work. I think it can happen. From my experience, I worked on my document for a year with Steve.
Mm,
From my experience, the people I work with, they get the highest level of me being in the ditch with them and giving them a vision and working with them. This is where I love having a 2-3 year engagement together, that I'm in their life.
mm,
They get to experience, what it's like to have me, or to see how I live life, that I'm not just talking out of my ass. This is the way I live.
Well, that would be impressive. Yeah, that is a long term, and I could see the value after our conversation today of why that would serve somebody. How are you on time? We're right at time. Are you good for a couple
I'm
more minutes?
good.
Yeah.
I got some minutes, yeah.
Okay. I want to hit on why you're doing this. Why of all the things you could be doing in this world, Gary, what is your legacy? What is the gift you're leaving as you're alive? And what is the gift that people will remember when you're gone?
And I have no idea about any of that stuff.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I
Do you think that's more of an ego thing?
I have no opinion on ego, not ego. You asked me, for me, I don't know
Yeah.
what my legacy is. Like, as far as I'm concerned, me being here with you, that's my legacy.
Mm.
I come to the Andes. I've been coming to the Andes since 2018. And I haven't been here since January. And hey, Gary, they all know me. During COVID, I didn't see them for a long time. Hey, Gary, we love having you here. We love
Mm.
your energy. That's my legacy. So I'm
Mm.
not too particular about when I'm dead. When I'm dead, I hope my kids, they miss me, but they love me. My legacy is my kids.
Mm.
My legacy is my clients. I don't really need to have a big footprint in terms of what I do. I don't need to
Mm.
be on stage or anything. But all I know is the people I work with, they're going to touch multitudes. That's my legacy.
Mm.
So I don't have any visions or ideas of grandeur. Listen, I live a simple life and I like my life. I hired Steve. I want to be the eyes of love to everyone I meet. Byron Katie has these beautiful blue sparkling eyes. Steve has that. I want to be that. I don't want to be them, but I want to be a Gary version of that. And as long as I'm living, there's going to be areas that I got specks in my eyes or cataracts, and I'm just going to work at removing those. But within what I'm doing this all for, it's fun. My life is fun. Like doing this work, I don't even call what I'm doing coaching. I don't
Mm.
even call it coaching. Like basically, people get to be with me, and in being with me, their lives get better.
Mm.
Some things that they want will happen, but not at the beginning, or that's not what I'm doing it for. I want them to be better with themselves. What else is there? Like, this is all, I got the next third of my life. Like, I can enjoy it and I can be something that provides not only value, but an opportunity to say, life can be lived like this. There's a possibility that you could actually enjoy 150 minutes in the thing. And when I got my PR card, it's like, I got it for another year. I was so happy.
Hmm. Hmm. We've got 111 comments just as you wrapped that up. No accidents there. Um, are there any other thoughts, Gary, before we wrap up? Anything you'd want to say to those that are watching today? If you spoke directly to them, what would you say just in a quick, message? What would that be?
No matter how you find yourself, cut yourself a bit of slack. Allow yourself to be a human being. And much like we love babies, just be with yourself as if you're a baby. We've
Hmm.
got this thing, like we look at ourselves all wrinkly and old and horrible or just ugly or like the elephant man or whatever it is. That's the way we see ourselves. And actually, we're not. Just allow yourself to be where you're at, allow yourself to be who you are. And that's going to start the process of these ideas about yourself dissolving. And it really connects us to the God part of us. It really connects us to love.
Hmm.
This isn't about being a better you. I don't want to be a better me. I just want to relinquish or get rid of these ideas that I've had about myself that hurt me. Stop hurting you. If you stop hurting you, there's a possibility that a Steve Hardison or a Gary Mahler or anybody will come. And all I want to do, everyone here, all we want to do is you go out into the world. How are you being with your barista? How are you being with your waitress? How are you being when the flight is oversold? Very simple. And within that, yeah, I've got some big ideas of what I want to create with the rest of my life, but it's going to be fun doing it. Like, unless it's going to be fun, why do it?
That's my motto too.
Ryan, final thoughts here.
I can barely, my finger hurts. I got a cramp from pushing all the buttons. I missed some too. So all the comments of from like just being in your presence, Gary. We talked before we hopped on the show about ketchup chips and how excited we were to have ketchup chips, and then you informed us about hop down in the hole with us and informed us about all dressed up chips and how we've been missing out on that. And then my field of vision expanded. I'll tell you what, I don't need all dressed up chips because I got to be all dressed up with Gary Mahler today. I got to feel Gary energy, and it brings up emotion because it's powerful, it's strong, it's simple, it's love, it's beautiful. And this is the thing that resonates in my heart. This is the reason why I do what I do, is so that people can see that they're giants already. Hugh and I talk about it all the time. And well, I mean, I have these mythical conversations with him.
In my head, we're talking.
Yeah. Well, right. on the comment section, so he makes a comment and I have a dialogue in my head about it. It's unpacking all of and just decluttering all of the stuff that you believe that you might be, and really getting down to the root of who you really are already. And I can't thank you enough for the time to spend with us to share this message, because this is it for me. This is everything for me. And watching people see that for me is really it. Is when they get to be lifted up and they all of a sudden, not that I gave them a whole new perspective, that's part of it, but yes, that their whole world opens up and they believe in themselves. They start to see themselves differently. That for me, there's no other feeling like it in the whole wide world. And so thank you for pouring that into the giants that we have the opportunity to be in front of, and for almost spending 150 minutes with us now. I'm just kidding. It's not doing
Hopefully
that long.
You got air conditioning.
Yeah. Hopefully this is a little bit better than that. But thank you so much for all that you are, Gary. Love you tons.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you so much.
For those that are watching, we always say, the X, and kind of the X is pushed out there, but, in sign language, the X is pulled inward, right? And it means love, right? It means love. And so love on yourself, like Gary's talking about. When we talk about the giants and the smalls, there's no becoming giant. There's only unbecoming. Everything you think makes you small. Right. So when you read the book, The Giants and the Smalls, just like Steve Hardison's book and his story about his world is an example of what's possible for you. But it's not about any other human being. It's about what's going on here that gets expressed out here. And so turn that X inward, right? Make that love. And you are exactly where you're supposed to be. You're right on time. You're not missing out on anything. You've got everything you need to create anything you could imagine. You just can't see it sometimes. And so when you get in that pit and you need help out of it, right? Let us jump in the pit with you. Come join the community where other people are there with you. Call me.
We're doing all the hand signs.
Yeah, I love it. So, just recognize you're there, but don't heap any more judgment on top of it, because you're just where you are. It's okay to not be okay. So we appreciate you. We appreciate your comments. The show, again, we say this every time. This show wouldn't be what it is without the comments and the interaction, the engagement. So we love you, Giants. We're grateful to have you along this journey. Go subscribe first before we leave the show, but go make it a giant day, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Love you.